Welcome to Podcast 360, powered by the Podcast Academy. In 3 questions answered in 60 seconds each, you'll experience a 360-degree view of podcasting from a lineup of industry experts. The hosts of your favorite podcasts will take turns interviewing each other, creating a chain of podcast knowledge and perspective. Let's meet our industry experts. Today's host is...
Hey, I'm Mandi Woodruff-Santos. You might remember me. I was just here last week when I was interviewed by my buddy Chris Browning of Popcorn Finance.
And who is our guest this week?
Hello, I am Bernadette Joy, and I am the founder and the podcast host of Crush Your Buddy Goals.
First, the game before the game. We ask our guests to share 2 truths and a lie. Our host will guess which is the lie, and we'll find out the answer together at the end of our conversation. Let's play Podcast 360.
Hey, BJ, Bernadette Joy. Thank you so much for being my guest. I appreciate you. I'm excited to have you. So here at Podcast 360, we are going to start with a round of 2 truths and a lie. So here's how it's going to work. I don't know if you know the rules, but they're complicated. So you tell me 2 things that are true, the one that's a lie. I'll take a little stab. I'll take a little guess at what you are lying about. And then at the end, listeners and me will find out if I was right or wrong.
Okay. First statement is I have been to all 7 continents. Second statement is I was a national handball champion. And third statement is I was once on a British television dating show.
What? Well, oh gosh. Okay. British television dating show. When did you live in the UK?
Oh, in college?
Okay. I'm going to act like that was like a tell that you just like looked down and checked your ring finger. I don't know how I call it. Okay. The 7 continents, I totally buy that from you. Not that people who are as badass as you don't have a ton of things going on, but I just feel like you prioritize fun and excitement, and you and your partner just zip around all the time. And I just feel like that sounds like right on brand for you. The handball, I don't even know what that is. It's different than a baseball. Maybe there's just hands involved, but no bases. Okay, so I think that it's the British dating show, but also I kind of hope that it's the truth because I want to hear about that. And I never knew that about you. Okay. All right.
Find out later, I guess.
We will reveal nothing. All right. So the only rule about these questions I'm going to ask you is that I'm going to ask you 3 and you're only going to have 60 seconds to answer each. Okay. Take it from me. 60 seconds goes fast and, but we'll keep you honest. So once we get through your round of rapid answers, we can pick one of the subjects and talk about it in greater detail. All right. You ready to go?
Yep.
All right. So here is question number 1 for you, Bernadette. What's it like doing a podcast with a good friend?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. My podcast co-host is Steph Gonzalez, and she is actually based in Lisbon, Portugal. So on one hand, it's just a great excuse for us to catch up regularly. And you know how life can be at this stage of life. I know you've got young kids, she's got young kids. You said I'm zipping around. And so it's a good opportunity for us to actually have conversations like we would in normal life, but we just happen to record them. So that's always fun. And what's been really fun for us specifically is that we've actually learned a lot about each other in the last 11 episodes that we didn't know about each other from before. And so I feel like every time we go into a new episode, I'm learning something new about myself, but also about her. And then we end up having a debrief afterwards where we're like, oh, I didn't know that about you. And it's always fun to learn something new about someone that you feel like you've already known for a while.
Oh, nice. I love that. It sounds a lot like how me and my co-host Tiffany started. It's like we had like maybe a 70% business, 30% friendship before. I mean, now it's flipped. Now it's like completely skewed more towards friend. Same. Okay, so that makes me, I kind of knew that about you guys, but I'm really happy that you're open to the experience of like it's also getting to know each other because the audience can sense that and can feel it.
Absolutely. We've definitely blossomed over the last season.
Okay, so given that this show is for people who are in the biz, what is one thing you wish you knew about the business of podcasting before you got into the space?
This may sound like an obvious answer, but it is really hard to monetize a podcast. And I did not know or understand that before. I started my podcast in 2018, and I had no intention of actually becoming a podcaster or monetizing it later down the road. My initial reason for starting the podcast was because people kept asking me the same question over and over again. And I thought it was just more efficient to record one season of a podcast and then share that with people versus going out for cups of coffee all the time. And then I got a little overconfident after the first season. I was like, oh, maybe this can become a thing where I can like make money from it and do all this other stuff. And I have been able to make money from Crush Your Money Goals, but it hasn't been directly from the podcast itself. It's been from putting other revenue streams together. That was after the podcast is used as an awareness tool and for advertising for my business.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I know exactly what I want to talk about more in depth. But let me go into my third question. I mean, it's going to be sort of piggybacking off of that one, but I think in some ways the monetization of podcasting is a bit straightforward. But you mentioned one of my favorite words, which is diversifying. One of the things that I wish I knew as a younger podcaster was the importance of diversifying your monetization strategy. So can you talk about, like, pick one and maybe talk about, okay, so this is something that I think a young green podcaster could like get ahead of and get on top of early and really help them monetize?
Yes. In hindsight, this was, again, not on my plan. If I could go back to younger Bernadette, I would have looked at monetizing speaking engagements sooner than when I did. I really only started monetizing speaking engagements probably the last 2 years or so, partially because of the pandemic, right? Pandemic was hard to make that happen. But also, I just enjoyed speaking at live places so much that I didn't charge a lot in the beginning. And what I know now, though, is that the podcast has been a really great practice area for me to not only practice speaking engagements as in keynote speaking, but becoming a really great panel host in particular. I've been given feedback specifically that I've been asked to host panel discussions, and I've been told that I'm a good listener and I'm good at interviewing, and I'm actually like bringing the dialogue to a better place than people have seen in other events. But that's directly because I've had so much practice as a podcaster.
That's such a good point. And you're such a pro. I was like, yeah, 60 seconds. Everybody's going to blow through those just like I did. But you're like really good at it. It's almost as if you do a lot of speaking and you're used to time parameters and have an off switch. It's cool. So you mentioned speaking. All right, because you're a podcast, so Crush Your Money Goals, that is a brand that you started before you and Stephanie became partners. So how does that work monetizing? Like, do you guys, Tiff and I have always been very straightforward. We do a 50-50 split. We co-own it. But do you mind diving into that and how you, the business side of like having a partner? Because I think it's great to have a partner, but that is, you have to be okay talking about money.
Yes. So here's what I learned for myself. I realized that I am not a good brand ambassador. As in, I'm not good at selling other people's products, but I'm good at selling my own products. And I'm very willing to sell products of people who I really know personally, not just these brands. So it became kind of a no-brainer when I was kind of at a crossroads with the podcast that I was just like, I don't know that I'm loving this anymore. And it's feeling a little stale for me. And also, I did try one season where I had a partnership with a brand, and it was great. It worked out well. They got value out of it. I got money out of it. It was, good relationship, but I didn't see that as a long-term business model for me specifically in the podcast. And so when I decided that I wanted to continue the podcast, one, I realized I don't think I could do it by myself anymore. Two, I wanted to get a fresh perspective. And three, I thought it would just be more fun. And to be honest, you and Tiffany were examples for me and Steph where we're just like, they sound like they're having so much fun on this podcast. Like, it's not as fun for myself just talking to myself. So when we decided to monetize, the way that we decided to approach it was that we actually use the podcast as our marketing bucket. Like, we both spent money separately on marketing for our own businesses. She's a coach and I'm also a coach. But we would spend money in other areas. And we said, let's put more money into the podcast and get a good quality production team. Let's work on getting someone to help us with putting it up on YouTube. And also my husband, who was here before, he was helping us on kind of organizing the whole thing. And he's paid out of this business as well. And so the way that we ended up thinking about the monetization strategy with the podcast was that it was at the top of our funnel, but it would be a place for us to be able to advertise what we do for a living and also have proof of concept of what we do. And we've been able to generate revenue off of the back end, her selling coaching and courses. And then me right now, my focus is around selling my book.
Oh, okay. So depending on what you guys have going on in business, the podcast, like you said, it's like people are first introduced to you, they can get to know you, and then you can, all of a sudden, they're a soft lead, or not a, what's it called? I'm such a good marketing pro.
Yeah.
Warm lead, not a soft lead.
Warm lead. I was like, I don't know what a soft lead is. I know what a warm lead is. But, and I would say,
No offense.
But I would say they were they're even warmer because they've gotten to know us over 10, 11. For me, it's been like over 50 episodes at this point. And so it's been fascinating to me that I've had new clients come in for both my coaching business, for speaking gigs, and for I've already gotten pre-orders for the book, because people have come to me and say, I've been listening to you since 2018. So one of the hard things that I would tell other podcasters is that for me, I've just been playing the long game for a long time. And I feel like I'm just starting to harvest in the last 2 years. And a lot of people end up quitting before they get to harvest any of those seeds.
Amen, sister friend. No one wants to hear that. Like,
no one wants to hear it.
Once you get rich, get successful, quick scheme.
Podcast 360 will be back in just a moment. And we're back with Podcast 360.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think that transparency is so absolutely necessary. Every time that Tiffany and I reveal some of the challenges behind whatever it is, business, lifing, just living in general, we get so many thank yous for being so transparent. And I'm like, because a lot of people out here lying in these streets. It really is the long game. I mean, Tiff and I are 9 years in. I don't know if you heard, but she's leaving the show now. And I told her, we were just talking today, and she's always checking in on me. I'm like, today's a good day. I'm fine. And I was like, it really is the long game. I just really agree with what you're saying. And I'm like, this feels almost like a fresh start, but at least I'm so happy that I've got a 9-year platform. I'm not starting from scratch. We've set ourselves up in a way that the brand can live on. And do you see that as well? Like, crush your money goals? Like, you're two individuals. You have probably different goals in life, and nothing great can last for always. But do you see this as a brand that, whether it's you and Steph, you and someone else, maybe even Steph by herself, like it could go on and live on beyond just you as a duo?
Yeah. So it was interesting for me because we didn't start the podcast together. I brought her in after I've been doing it since 2018, and then she just came in last year. And a lot of people were kind of surprised that I was willing to give a piece of my business in that regard to someone kind of brand new. But I've always been of the thought process of like, there's room for all of us, and I'd rather have a piece of something than a lot of nothing, right? So when it comes to crush your money goals, it's been an interesting journey for me because this year in December, the book is coming out, and the book was really written in 4 months, which a lot of people think is crazy in terms of like actually getting it down to paper. But it's been in the process since the beginning of this podcast. I culled so much material from previous podcast episodes and from things that I've learned since 2018 that it was still hard. Don't get me wrong. It was very hard to write the book, but I wasn't like coming up with things in my brain out of nowhere. It was like, let me go look back at all this content that we built over the last couple of years and how can we reframe that into a book. And so I actually feel really confident that Crush Your Money Goals will live on for hopefully the near future, because it's stuff that like was still true in 2018 that still resonates in 2024. And we wrote it so that it would still resonate 10 or 20 years from now, not versus like what's just trendy or what the latest thing is in personal finance.
The long game. Well, Bernadette, I love having you here as a guest, but I need to know. Like, I'm burning with anticipation. What's the lie? Who are you?
So here's the thing, because I knew that I was going to be telling you. I was like, I think she'll fall for this trap.
Okay.
I love trapping people. The lie is the 7 continents.
Oh, really? Wait. It's okay. Dating show. I'm so excited to hear about this because I love Love Is Blind. I love the UK version of that show. Was it Love? It wasn't Love Island. I've seen every single season. Please tell me.
Yeah. So no one will have seen this. I wish I had footage of it because I would love to see what it looked like. But I was in college. I was studying abroad in London for my senior year of college. And my friend, who was, when I say friend, like we had literally met like 2 weeks ago at the club. And he was just like, hey, I got this call to be on this like TV show that's like a dating show. Would you want to go with me? And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. That sounds cool. Like, I'll go watch you be in this show. And then I got there. They're like, oh, you're going to be on the show. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? They're like, oh, someone else backed out. We need someone like you. You're cute. Like, you should go on the show. It was basically, I don't even know what channel it was on or whatever, because I had no idea that it was even happening. But basically, I was on the show, and like they would ask us like questions about our ideal type, like our ideal type person. And then people like could call in and literally ask me out. It was the most bizarre experience I've ever had in my life. Don't worry, I didn't go on any weird.
And that's how you got married, right? And your husband? This is the best
that would be an amazing
ever.
I mean, if I had a British husband, that'd be a whole other story too. But no, so So yeah, I was on that dating show, but it's like a core memory I have because it reminds me of Miley Cyrus's song, which is like, I used to be fun. Like when I tell people that, people assume that that's a lie because if people meet me now, me and my husband have been together for so long.
Oh, I mean, I believe every woman has a storied past. We all need like a little, we all need a romp in any foreign land or even just a different state, different city. Just move somewhere else, girls, and just become someone else. That when you are close to 40, you know, at a certain stage in your life, you can just think back and be like, I'll always have her.
She was cute.
She was cute. Like, producers loved her. So that footage does not exist, or you just can't find it?
I mean, I guess I could go try to find it now.
What was the show called? Do you know?
I can't even tell you the name of it right now. I really don't remember what the name of the show is called. But when we had this podcast session today, I was like, oh, I forgot about that. That's fun.
I love that so much. All right, Bernadette Joy, thank you so much for being my guest. You guys stay tuned for her book, Crush Your Money Goals. It's coming out in December. Do you have any, other than the book, social media pages, websites, any shout outs you want to give?
Well, I would love for people to listen to our podcast, Crush Your Money Goals. And this season in particular, we were focused on quitting with confidence. So if you're someone who has been toying with the idea of quitting a day job, quitting a business, quitting a toxic situation or whatever it is, this is the podcast season for you.
Thank you, Bernadette. And thanks to the Podcast 360 team for having us.
Thank you for listening to Podcast 360, where you experience a 360-degree view of podcasting. Special thanks to the Podcast Academy and DCP Entertainment. Follow us on social media at The Ambies and at DCP Official on Instagram. And subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you never miss an episode.